Move on to some other news. The judge in the SENZO MEYIWA murder trial has raised concerns about the safety of one of the witnesses today. Constable Zungu has to return to KwaZulu-Natal over the weekend to collect original statements that are wanted by the court. Today's session adjourned after it was discovered that he was referring to handwritten notes. Zungu's testimony has placed all 5 of the accused at a forced-arrest hostel on the day that MEYIWA was shot dead, confirming they knew one another.
So you don't mind being driven down?
Yeah.
You don't mind?
I don't mind.
Will you be having security driving you down? Mr. Baloi, does this I fear for this gentleman's life.
Yes.
Because we've got evidence here that there was an attempt to murder him. You see, people keep on saying to kill him. The difference between killing and murdering. So, does he have sufficient protection to be driven down? Because there are people here in court.
Yes.
I don't know. They are listening.
Yes.
I don't know. No, but we must be realistic.
Indeed. In fact, today security has even been enhanced.
The what?
The security around him has been enhanced as a result of the incident that we showed this morning.
Zungus also told the High Court in Pretoria that on the night of the footballer was killed, he saw accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, wearing a black hooded sweatshirt. Later, however, he had changed into a grey one.
Further, accused number 2 also states that it's a falsehood that you saw him at Gwabini changing from a black hoodie to a grey hoodie.
Accused number 2 uthi ke nalokho ke kungamanga ukuthi wambona khona lapha kwaGwabini echange ihoodie emnyama wase efaka egrey.
Ngambona.
I saw him.
Uyakwazi nayilokho.
And he knows that as well.
For more on this now, let's speak to legal expert Tabiseng Dubasana, who's joining us on the line. Tabiseng, a very good evening to you. Welcome to News at Prime. So, how does the testimony of this witness, do you think, weigh up against some of the other witnesses we've heard from, especially since the beginning of the retrial?
Well, when hearing what the witness said today, I don't know if it can be used in the sense of hard evidence against the accused persons, but indeed it does add to the circumstantial evidence that has been led so far in terms of what the witness said today. So, for example, the fact that he's well aware or well known to the accused persons, and therefore he can call them by name. He relates with them from KZN, and on that day in question, they were indeed drinking and having Jameson, from what I heard. And as a result, the 2 accused persons, when they came back from what is alleged to have been the killing of SENZO, they made him aware of what is happening without having the news having been blasted out as yet onto the media spaces. So that could possibly add to the circumstantial evidence.
How then does the defense try to dismantle this? I mean, if this man is saying he's able to place them in forced arrest on that night and says where they were drinking at this hostel, upon return there were at least 2 guns placed at the scene in his testimony, how do they even begin to defend their clients when this whole time they've said the wrong people have been arrested for killing MEYIWA?
Well, so far we are hearing evidence wherein the accused persons are saying they were never there, so they're claiming there's an alibi. So we'll wait to hear once the accused persons come into the box if indeed there was an alibi. And then we're also hearing issues around the fact that the accused representation is talking about the level of sobriety of the witness that was present. If we heard earlier today, there were questions on how many tots or glasses that the witness was drinking on that day. So just to establish his credibility in terms of being able to access or notify the accused person when they arrived. So unfortunately, from what I could see, that didn't work out so good, because if you know somebody, it doesn't matter how much you have consumed on the day in terms of alcohol, you'll be able to point out that person irrespective.
And I wonder if the weight of his evidence in court explains why we in fact saw Fiso Nduli, one of the accused, gesturing, basically signaling as though he was pulling the trigger of a gun, and was then reprimanded by Judge Mokwatleng.
Yes, so in that situation, it seems that when the state was addressing this, it seemed like the accused person was threatening the witness, albeit it wasn't really proven. And when the witness was asked to respond to all of that, the witness was not even aware of what is happening. But like the judge has said, this has happened more than once in different court settings where such tactics are used in court in order to intimidate witnesses. Sometimes it's the other way around, where the accused persons are being intimidated, and as a result, it ends up in people contradicting themselves, and then the matter being dismissed in one form or another. But those kinds of behaviors, though, when the judge has already noticed them, remember, when you give judgment, you don't just give judgment based on the facts that were put before you on that day as a presiding officer and the merits thereof, but you also take into consideration the behavior of the accused, the demeanor of the accused talks a lot to whether or not the accused is indeed guilty of what has happened in this matter.
And the witness, Constable SENZO Zungu, also told the court at the beginning yesterday that his family had also received threats as a result of his involvement with this case. We know now that he's going to go back to KZN to get some original statements that the court wants to be able to look at on Monday, because there are safety concerns. He's now had to do so, or take the trip with a police escort. Did the judge or did the court deal appropriately with the concerns around his safety?
I think the judge could do as best as he can in that situation. You can only do so much. The duty now would really rest on the state. If indeed the witness's life and his family members is in such danger, and from what we heard today, Abonkabi were involved in this situation, then they would have to now institute probably and hopefully witness protection on behalf of the witnesses in order for them to be protected as such. But only the judge can only do so much, unfortunately.
Right. And Ntabisang, just as you mentioned, Inkabi, which are, this is the word for basically hitmen, right? We know this is the term that's come up when you look at, for example, the Gleebler's inquiry into political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. This hostel where they were drinking, according to the police constable Zungu, enforced arrest in 2014. It speaks, part of his testimony, if all of it is true, to just the extent of lawlessness in South Africa and how normalized, is it not, how normalized violence is in our society, that people, by his account, would be drinking at a tavern in a hostel, go away, allegedly commit a murder, come back, have a change of clothes, still have at least 2 guns on them, and then continue with their evening as though nothing happened.
That is very true. I mean, policing can only go so far. I mean, when we look at the number of police officers that are dispatched on a daily basis to deal with certain crimes that are being dealt with, most of the time they don't even have the sufficient resources to deal with that. So most people or hitmen in this situation usually would go unchecked. But the fact that this particular officer was drinking at a place wherein seems it is known that's where hitmen are going to be, makes you wonder why indeed he had such a good relationship, seemingly, with the hitmen that are there, such that his firearm was then handed over to this particular person. Remember, maybe if we make an example of when we go to court, when a police officer signs into court, they need to sign in the caliber of the gun, the name of the gun, the licensing on the gun, and your license there, so that when it does go missing, it can be traced. It seems this wasn't done in this situation. How then would you know if one of the hitmen there took your gun to go and commit a crime and then return it there, and then it's traced back to you as a police officer? I would probably, as a defense attorney, throw that in the mix to say, if you are so comfortable to be around hitmen in that manner, how then could we accept your evidence to be true and not biased based on what you have done already in this matter?
Ntabisang Dubazana, legal analyst. Good to speak to you as always on Newsroom Africa. Thank you for your time.